Welcome to the Hoop Collective. We are talking about the NBA. Joining us from Protocols, Tim MacMahon, outside. How very responsible of you. Thank you, Tim.
Well, it's either from the bedroom where I've been quarantined or my little outdoor office here, or do the whole thing with a mask on and you can't really hear me.
Some people would like to muffle him, Tim Bontemps.
That would be good. Hello, fellas.
So every year in international soccer, they give out a very prestigious award. Mr. Bontemps, it is pronounced
the Ballon d'Or, or as Brian just said it before, the Balloon d'Or, when he asked
what I did not say the Balloon d'Or. I said the Balloon d'Or. The Ballon d'Or, which
either way, it was funny.
All right. Which given, in soccer, there's bunch of different leagues. There's international competitions, there's national competitions, and it's a very prestigious award because it takes all of that into account. And it's for the calendar year. What did you do January 1st, 2021 to the end of the year? Messi just won it for the 7th time. He's good. The NBA doesn't have an award like that. There's awards are seasonal, but this year specifically, there was an Olympics. There was play-in tournaments. There were other things that went on. And so we're going to discuss who would win such an NBA award, or really professional basketball.
And what are we calling this?
The Balloon d'Or.
No, the basket door.
Or the Hoop Collective Player of the Year, either one, however we want.
Hoop Collective Player of the Calendar Year.
Yeah, Player of the Year.
So, Bontemps, you have some candidates.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 3 guys personally that I think would be in the top 3. I would say one is the guy who won Finals MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, who had 50 points and went 17 for 19 for the foul line in Game 6.
Pretty good.
Led his team to its first championship in half a century. Firmly established himself as a guy who could get it done in the playoffs, something people weren't sure he could do. It was sort of the one knock left against him. After that, I would say Nikola Jokic, guy who we've talked about some on this podcast, won the MVP last year, first MVP of his career, first time a center's won MVP in 2 decades, has only come back and is currently registering the highest BER in the history of the league by 4 points, I think. And then Kevin Durant, who came back last year after missing a year plus because of an Achilles injury, had the greatest recovery from an Achilles injury in the history of the sport so far, was unbelievable in the playoffs, playing basically every minute of their series against the Bucks and only losing in part because his toe was a quarter inch over the line on a 3-pointer at the end of Game 7 at home. And then he carries Team USA, which is, Brian, covering it, was not always that impressive this summer.
Absolutely.
To a gold medal. And
carried them is not even the word.
Right.
They should have given him 2 goals.
And then he comes back. This for this season, and with COVID protocols and Kyrie not playing and everything else, has been equally phenomenal. And if not for Stephen Curry turning into a supernova again, would be the front runner for MVP of the league again.
Yeah, those are definitely the 3 guys that I looked at. Considering Olympics, I think if I wanted to homer it up, I could make a case for Luka, but he didn't win in the playoffs despite being brilliant. And honestly, he's not been very good this season.
Yeah, so his start to this season is what knocked him out for me. If he'd been better at the start of the year, he would have had a better case.
Yeah, and to crack this top 3, I just think the standard is so high. Like, Giannis was historically great in those playoffs. Like, this wasn't, the Bucks broke in. People, the path was easier because of injuries, blah, blah. Dude, Giannis, when you talk about 30 points, 12 plus rebounds, 5 plus assists, more than a steal a game, more than a block per game, he's the only person in NBA history to have a postseason like that.
Well, and also remember, he had a play in the Atlanta series in the conference finals where I was at the game where I thought his leg snapped in half, and he came back and basically played it like a week later, and was like nothing ever happened. I still don't know how he did that.
And he had the best finals closeout performance ever. I mean, 50 points, 14 rebounds, and you can argue he was as dominant on the defensive end where he had 5 blocks, including the play from the finals that everybody remembers. Isn't him, dunking or any of that. It's him recovering and rejecting DeAndre Ayton at the rim. I mean, absolutely dominant on both ends.
His second half of that game just was that game 6 was just unbelievable. Just being there in person, they're losing at halftime. They're at home. The series could go back to Phoenix for game 7. And what does he do? He comes out in the second half. I think I want to say he scored 30 points in the second half of that game. He obviously made all those free throws, which is a huge storyline through the playoffs. He was, people were counting down the 10-second thing the whole time, but he comes out and is whirling dervish on defense, making plays all over the place, had that block on Ayton, storms them back to win the title at home in Milwaukee. I mean, I'll never forget being there for that game. It was
and as brilliant as KD was in the series against the Bucks, and obviously, he had guys around him go down. Giannis was, especially after the Bucks fell in that 0-2 hole, Giannis was absolutely dominant. And look, a guy goes for 40-point double-double in game 7 for a win. Yeah. That especially a guy who at the time
some huge
had
shots down the stretch of that game too.
Yeah. And at the time had these, playoff demons that he had yet to slay.
And by the way, he was given an award for that. It was called Finals MVP, the Bill Russell Trophy, because he was brilliant. It was a finals for the ages, and he was rewarded for it. I would probably agree with Bontemps that if I had a vote in this award, I would give it to Durant. And maybe it's because I was biased and understood exactly the challenge that was at his feet in Tokyo, where the U.S. was on the edge of facing another humiliation. Because, if either they win and nobody cares, or they lose and it's humiliation. What he did for that team was amazing. I probably would go with Durant by a nose over Giannis because of the Olympics, and also because Durant's had a great fall, which is also part of this vote. I would also include Devin Booker, because Devin Booker had an absolutely narrative-changing postseason last year. Was absolutely dominant in a couple of their road closeout games on their way. And I know a lot of people will say, well, so-and-so was hurt, so-and-so was hurt. Well, Booker was there, and Booker lowered the dagger several times. And then, and I'd like
that
to
game
also
against the Lakers, that game 6 against the Lakers at Staples was a pretty important game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was a transformative game for him.
Yep.
And I give special mention to Chris Middleton, who won the finals, had a son. His girlfriend had a son, and then he got on a plane with Booker and flew over to Japan. They landed in the middle of the night and then played that night.
Him and Drew Holiday both.
Yeah, and Holiday, yeah. A Holiday too, special mention. But Booker, I think, just because. And then Booker's had a terrific, he got sidelined a little bit by a hamstring, but he's had a terrific fall as well. They're off to a tremendous start. So Booker makes my top 3. And I think this is the exact.
Well, what a surprise. What a surprise. Wendy's hating on Jokic again.
Jokic out of Brian's top 3. Who could have guessed that?
Well, Jokic didn't play for his national team.
This is true.
And by the way, I don't blame him for not playing for his national team. He was tired. And look, he'd come in refreshed. If he had gone to play for his national team and gotten Serbia qualified and maybe gotten them a medal, he probably is getting this. But he made the choice, and that's fine. I would also give special mention to Brittany Greiner and Brianna Stewart. Brittany Greiner was leading player for the Team USA. She dominated in the gold medal game. And the Phoenix Mercury went to the WNBA finals. And Brianna Stewart, I had so much fun watching her play in the Olympics. One of my great memories is
another great Achilles comeback story too.
Crazy. She's playing small forward. She's played center her whole career, and she's playing small forward for Team USA because they have other bigs. And she was third in the MVP. So for the WNBA. So
wait, we get 1, 2, 3. Your votes.
Durant, Giannis, Booker.
Bontemps.
Mine is I went back and forth, but mine ultimately was Durant, Giannis, and Jokic. Durant's Olympic performance tipped it over the edge for me.
I am outvoted. I went Giannis based on the strength of that postseason run, and especially the way he closed out both the Nets and the Suns. Then I went KD, and then Jokic. And one thing I did consider between Giannis and KD is KD regular season in 2021 has played in 58 games. He missed a lot of time. Giannis has played in 84 games this regular season.
Oh, that's a good point.
No, listen to this. Guess how many regular season game Jokic has played in 2021?
I'm going to guess 110.
96.
Oh, I thought it was even higher.
It just tells you how crazy.
Which is probably why he didn't play for his national team.
But yeah, because remember, basically the entire 2020-21 season was in 21. The season started, around the last week of December. But with Jokic not playing for Serbia, although I don't blame him, and then not his fault, but the Nuggets only got to the second round. I couldn't make an argument for him top 2, but he did win the MVP. He is having arguably a better season so far. So that's my 1, 2, 3. I went Giannis. I'm outvoted.
Yeah, Giannis and Durant is basically 1 and 1A. You can flip a coin, really. But like Brian said, given the pressure that was on Team USA, where it's all downside if you don't win, and the amount of work that Durant did to carry them over the line, that tipped it barely over the edge for me.
Something happened, and again, this happened, at 7 a.m, 4 a.m. on the West Coast or whatever it was. They're playing Australia.
Mm-hmm.
They were down like 14 points in the first half, which 14 points in an international game is like 20 points in an NBA game because the game is shorter. And Greg Popovich goes to a triangle in 2 defense, which they worked on for apparently 6 seconds in practice in shoot around that day. And then Durant just is like, yeah, I'm not going to lose this. And the Australians, who lived their whole international careers to play that game, saw it melt away underneath the sword that Durant was swinging. So, and then seeing that is contributing to my vote.
Yeah, the gold medal game, he goes for 29 against France. They don't beat France unless Durant is dominant in that game. And the guy, he was Olympics MVP. He broke the Team USA career Olympics and single Olympic scoring records. So in the playoffs, the guy, what he did in that series against the Bucks. I mean, in game 5, when he goes 49, 17, 10, 3, and 2,
just incredible.
It was one of the best playoff performances I have ever seen. And then to go all 50 in game 7, score 48. I mean, they lose the game, but it was it was unreal.
There's not a wrong choice with those 2 guys. They're the clear 1 and 2.
Well, I had fun thinking about it and talking about it. That was also good. So
the first inaugural basket deal. Do you roll that R? I guess you don't roll that R.
No, but you can. I give you permission as a Texan.
That's a Texan way to say it. There you go.
French, not Spanish. All right. Thanks for watching the Hoop Collective this whole year, and we'll be seeing you in the new year. Enjoy it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.